Shit. What happened to that?
What happened to everything?
Joke's on you, I'm into that shit!
Alright, that's better. This thing just had a brain fart. Wow.
This guy likes your show better than mine.
Why?
Nico comes up for your show.
Hey, Nico, that's my buddy. All right, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Nocturnal Feeding Show. This happens twice every probably 4 to 6 weeks because that's when I have Fridays off. I used to do it every week until I was almost late for work a couple times, and I had to say no. But I want to thank Ed and Whip being here. We're going to continue what we was talking about on Ed's stream because we really didn't get to but one question. So we got 9 more to go. But first off, I'm going to say hellos. We got Seville Steve. Thank you for being here. Jenny Lynn, Barbara Jackson, Cheryl Smith, Aquarium Domain. See, this is doing it again. Here we go. Dennis Christensen, Toonie Loon. I believe I met that person.
Yes. Maybe not. She was at the Clash last year for sure, but I know you weren't. So
I met her. Okay. Seville Steve.
Seville.
Linda Worth. Flatbed Aquatics.
Flatbed Aquatics.
310 Aquatics, Uncle Smiley, Whips holding something. We'll leave that one alone. Thank you, Kalish, for the 5 memberships. They went to Cheryl Smith, Uncle Smiley, Dennis Christensen, Toonie Loon, and wouldn't you know, Whip gifted a membership.
Yeah, baby.
Brother Dan, how you doing? Sam, why are we always yelling? Hello, Scuba Steve.
Scuba Steve is in the house.
Fish Dreams. Oh, does that mean this is Kitten? Or is it?
No. It's this thing right here. This thing right here.
This is my Scuba Steve action figure.
Looks just like him.
That's pretty cool, actually. Alishon, it's deja vu all over again. Yes, it is.
That freaking
actually my heaviest action figure.
Holy Gibbs. I think I'm getting close. I am at the bottom of the chat.
Freaking MNC's here. There goes the neighborhood.
Yeah, how about it?
Alishon.
Oh, Alishon's really cool.
Bucks auction.
The cat house is cool
Saturday.
Too.
I can't come, and it sucks. I really wanted to go to this.
Oh no! Why? What happened? You have to work?
No, I have an engagement. I got this thing I have to go do. Unfortunately,
I got a thing I got to do at a place with a guy.
Can I tell everybody a personal subjects thing quick that I forgot to do on my show?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Tuesday night was Dungeons and Dragons night, and Chris wasn't there, so I was hosting, but I don't play it live, so it wasn't being live. But halfway through our session, my mom screamed saying, "Dad needs help and needs help now." So I left right away. When I got upstairs, I tested my dad for stroke right away because he was like in his chair like this, head down, not moving. And I said, "Dad, can you hear me?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay, can you get up? Can you get up to get in the car? Because I got to get you to the hospital now." And when he handed me his hands, he had strength in both hands. So I knew less likely stroke because I've had to deal with his strokes several times with this. I looked at his hands, or I looked at his face. He didn't have any drooping. He didn't have any slur in his in his talking. So I was ruling out stroke, thinking heart attack. He was sweating severely. He looked like somebody dropped a bucket of water on him. And I said, okay, we got to go. And he says, oh, I need a minute. And I said, no, we got to go now. And then he says, no, I need another minute. I said, in a minute, you might be dead. I'm calling 911 if you can't stand up. And he didn't stand up. So I called 911. They got there in 2 minutes. It's crazy. And my next door neighbor, he's a cop. He was there in like a minute. And thank you, Kyle. You're awesome. But we got Dad to the hospital. And well, first they got him in the ambulance and they checked to see if he was having a heart attack, because our hospital's a real small hospital. You know, it's our county hospital, and we're in kind of in the middle of nowhere because we're like 45 minutes from downtown Chattanooga. So we do have helicopter insurance. Last time my dad had to use a helicopter, well, the first time my dad had to use a helicopter, they charged him $18,000 to fly in a helicopter. It's ludicrous. And I mean, he's got that down to, I think he owed like 6,000 instead of the whole 18. But it was just crazy how much that costs. But now we have insurance for it. So yeah, well, so they put him on an EKG in the ambulance, and it didn't say that he had a heart attack, but his blood pressure was 68/40. So that's super slow, and it's like not getting much blood to his brain and getting to his body. Well, they put him on an IV in the ambulance, and he was coming around just from that, like in the ambulance. So they decided just to take him to our hospital here in town. And after about 4 hours and a bag or two extra of the stuff, he was super dehydrated. He had decided, instead of because it was the first beautiful day of spring here, it was like 70 degrees and just beautiful, not a cloud in the sky. He decided he was going to pull weeds and vines out of the woods. And he did that all day, but instead of drinking water like he knows he's supposed to, he was drinking coffee all day. And so he drank 2 pitchers of coffee, and he was like reverse dehydrating himself. But it was super, super scary. He's totally fine now. But if you're 80 plus, don't just drink coffee, drink water too. So
I can tell you,
hydrate you, not
the way you
dehydrate
disappeared. The 5 of us were like, holy crap. I mean, because you said what you said when you left wasn't garbled, but it was rushed. So Scotty and I heard something completely different than what everybody else heard, and we're like, holy crap. That's why I texted you right away.
Well,
and I knew you were busy.
I thought we were losing him.
That's what I thought.
We were losing him. His blood pressure was so low, it seemed more. And I've dealt with the strokes with him. I've been through 3 strokes with him out of his 5, and he had 1 stroke in the church and 1 stroke when he was driving, and that one was a real slow stroke where he just pulled off to the side of the road and had his stroke on the side of the road. And one of our neighbors, got in the truck and drove him home because his wife was with him. And so they had no idea. They were our brand new neighbors. They had just moved into our neighborhood, and the wife was driving behind, and she was asking her husband or herself, is he taking him to our house? Because they went up the hill instead of the hospital. And we live like 3 minutes from the hospital. We live super close to our hospital. But she was shocked that they were driving to her house with this old guy, having a stroke in a car. But right. No, by the time he got home, he was fine. But I took him straight to Erlanger, which is the stroke hospital downtown Chattanooga at that time. But he was totally fine by then. But you got to get on strokes right away, because you'll think you're fine, but there's medicines they put in your brain to get it stimulated again, because strokes are blockages in your brain. And if you have a blockage in there, you might not realize that you're losing memories and losing parts of your brain that you really need. So they're really scary too. But
If I
this,
remember correctly, it is a 2-hour window to get the proper care for a stroke.
well, all 5 times my dad's been in there in time, which is awesome. You know, we've always been right on it. But this, I thought it was a heart attack. He didn't have pain in his chest or his left arm, but you know,
Man,
and he
I'm
has a
glad he's okay.
pacemaker. So I don't know. It was just really scary. But he was like 100%. You know, I had to actually tell him he needed to be quiet because he was being too loud in the emergency room talking to my sister on the phone, because he
Yeah.
put her on speaker. And as soon as he put her on speaker, he started yelling into the phone. I was like, Dad, there's people sleeping in here.
Well, I'm glad he's okay, because that's you know what I do for volunteer work, so it can be scary.
Extremely. Like Kalish said, we were freaking out. I mean, I'm not going to lie. That kind of took precedence over what we were doing, you know, with the little game that we were playing. I mean,
Well, and I hate leaving the game, but man,
oh,
that was really scary. Thank God my
really
dad
scary.
came through it.
Well,
Because
Hey, Nola.
family comes first when it comes to stuff like that, because
Damn right.
it's you just never know.
yeah. And then we had another scare yesterday. Is my mom and dad let Bobo out of the house because Bobo's retarded. Their cat, he poops, and I'm sorry for saying the retarded word, but he poops in front of the doors of the house instead of using his litter pan. He uses it for potty, but not for number 2. Well, since they let him out of the house, he'll use the outdoors to poo instead. But yesterday, one of our neighbors just got this big ass black cat, and it was trying to kill him yesterday on our porch. And luckily, my dad, you know, he's 100% fine now, but he was right there, and Bobo was screaming as that cat was on top of him, just biting him in the back of the neck.
Wow.
And Bobo, luckily, he's fine. And he's afraid to go outside. But it was really kind of sad because Baby Cat like always gives Bobo the business. And I think Bobo just wanted somebody to be nice to him, and she was like kissing in his face. Poor thing.
So
Yeah,
we've had a traumatic 48 hours.
I got better information.
On dehydration?
No. So let me try this again. I screwed it up on your channel. I'm going to do it right on this one. So the auction is on April 12th, like Skip said, at 6 o'clock Eastern, but it's on Stephen P's channel. Did you say that? I don't know if you said that or not. And then the last day you can donate, if you want to donate, is March 29th. And that's to help, you know, pay for the wedding and the meals that are associated with the wedding. So, I mean, anything will help. $1 would help, $5, $10, whatever. And there's Mel Fishcavades. You want to talk about a scary night? She had to deal with a scary night. So I'm going to shift gears already. And I'm going to say hello to the Captain McReynolds as well. She was in a really, really bad accident. I have not seen the pictures, but she sent them to Jeff Pelham, and I guess the car was just seriously messed up. And she basically walked away from it. She said she was sore. I talked to her on one of the chats. She said she was sore. Actually, I talked to Jeff, who had talked to her. That's what it was. So, yeah, she had a near-death experience. Your dad I mean, it's just been my sister was in an accident. My dad was in an accident with the cars. My sister's live-in boyfriend slash whatever that is. They bought a house together. Um, he was in an accident. He got hit by a semi truck. I'm like, what the
Jeez.
hell's happening?
I see Cat House says it's time to get a bigger cat. Their cat normally looks huge, but they just had him shaved, and now he looks like he's 5 pounds. He doesn't even look like a cat.
They
So
shaved their cat? Why the hell would
yeah,
they shave
well,
their cat? Hey,
he's
Skull.
it's a Himalayan, and his winter coat
I need
just
to
becomes
eat a
giant
sandwich.
mats on the sides of his body, and so they shaved it down. He has like a big fluffy tail at the end, and his head's fluffy, but the rest of his body is like a little skinny bone.
People who shave their cats should be beaten.
Well, you got to, because he is the mats.
Well, you know how you avoid that? You brush them.
This cat doesn't. It's a difficult cat. I mean,
Are you talking to your neighbor's cat?
well, no, my mom and dad's cat. They're Himalayan.
I take it all back.
That's
I didn't say any of that.
no, well, and he didn't used to get these mats when he was an indoor only cat, but when they started letting him outside, sticks and stuff gets
Here,
in his
I may
fur.
just get this out of my mouth real quick.
No, one time he had a rose bush thorn that was like this long, stuck between his front legs and his back legs.
Ouch!
And we had to work to get that thing out. Oh man. But yeah,
So,
his cat looks really small right now. The black cat probably didn't even realize that was even him, or realize he was a cat, because he doesn't look like a cat. Now, if it was Baby
doesn't
Cat
work
and
like
Nico,
that.
they're always within like 2 feet of each other. So they would go to war against a cat together.
Yeah, well, you hope anyway, right?
And Nico is huge. Well,
I
I've
just-
seen it. I've seen a cat attack Nico, and Baby Cat like almost took its head off. And then I've seen Bobo get too rough with Baby Cat, and Nico will knock Bobo over for getting rough with Baby Cat. So, Nico, what are you doing? Nico's getting into a spot like he likes to get for D&D. See, I'm like scratching his head. He's right up next to the camera. But Skipper said,
our host.
yeah, he would like to talk about important questions that are asked on YouTube, or I mean, asked on Google. And the number one was size of fish. And I think that'd be a fun one if we had a whole bunch of people in the panel and everybody would have to pick a fish for the next guy. So how about the next one is how to cycle a tank?
Wait.
And
What do we? What's? I missed what you're. Are we coming up with questions that people ask about aquariums?
These are the top questions asked on Google. The top 10 questions asked on Google.
Regarding
and the second
aquariums.
Yeah. And the second most asked question is how to cycle a tank. And how I do it is I plant the tank. You know, I use dirted soil. I plant the tank. I use lights. I don't put a fish in my tanks normally for 2 months. So, I mean, I'm building up a good bacteria system already.
Right.
But what we used to do way back when in the 70s, like when I was a kid, my dad would drop a fish into each tank. And if it survived, great. After 2 weeks, if it died, the bacteria from it all kicks it off, you know? So you don't get an ammonia spike by having one fish in there, but it's enough for the, you know, that, come on, Nico, you can't just sit in front of the camera.
Yes, he can, because look at him. He's doing it.
But that's how we used to do it, was with the death of a little fish. But I mean, there's lots. I've also tried Turbo Start, and that worked great. For fast cycle, I'll take a sponge filter from one of my other tanks and squish it once and put it in there. So the mulm's a little bit in there already, all over the place, and then the filter's growing stuff right there. You know what? I probably do that in all my tanks. Every time I start a new tank, I take an old fish filter from one tank to another.
You want to
But
hear an
Yeah.
even bigger faux pas than telling you your parents should be beaten for shaving your cats?
oh,
I don't do that.
you
I
don't
just
cycle your tank at all?
nope. I let the fish do it.
So,
Now,
like we would sacrifice a fish to do it.
I've never lost a fish to do it. Not once.
Wow.
Now I don't throw 45 fish in there. You know, I just put one or two, and I've never had an issue. I mean, it could be a little
Well,
bit hard on them, I guess, but it's not like I do water changes and all that stuff. So and I use the prime and all that. So it's not like a. And now that I have tanks, I make it sound like I don't do anything, but I have filters that I can move. But like all my
mhm.
tanks have multiple filters. Like my
Well, I think if
210,
you put a
like
used filter, it's going to bring
that's
so much
yeah.
bacteria to start stuff. It'll be great. But I have
Then
taken, here's the biggest loss I ever had by not cycling a tank was I put a channel cat that was about a foot and a half long into a big tank that wasn't cycled, and he died like 3 days later. And I'm sure it was because of the Nico, stop it. Sorry, guys.
what was it because it wasn't cycled or because you took a wild animal out of the wild and stuck him in a 4x4 box?
No, I grew them from this big. I got them at a fish store as like a half inch, and he
So it
outgrew
wasn't
his old
wild.
tanks. No, he wasn't wild, but I bought a 55-gallon tank. That was when I graduated high school. And I put him in there, and that's still too small of a tank for that big of a fish. But he hadn't gotten girthy yet. He was still skinny. But,
Right.
but, yeah, he got that big in a 20-gallon tank. So, yeah, I got him. I put him in
Literally every
there.
tank in this room was started with the fish that are in them.
Wow.
But well, not this one so much because this was got 30 fish in it now. But when I first started, it only had like two or three. They get the cycle going, and then you just slowly add. I mean, it's never been a problem for me. I mean, how do you do your quarantine tanks and your hospital tanks? You just you throw in media from your other tanks in there to get because I mean otherwise the beneficial bacteria is long dead by the time you go from one sick fish to
My,
the next.
my, well, I have two quarantine tanks. Neither one of them has been drained. Like they both are been full
Well,
for like 2
yeah, but I
years.
mean the minute you pull the fish out, that beneficial bacteria doesn't live very long without
Oh,
some
it
kind of
lives
food
forever.
source. No, it doesn't. It
Yeah, it
needs a
does.
food source.
As long as you got air and a filter going, you've got
No,
bacteria
that's not
growing in there.
true.
Aaron, I even have in plants. I have plants growing in them too.
It needs food. It needs something to feed on. Your beneficial bacteria colony grows and shrinks with the bioload that your fish are producing. If you have no
Yeah, but
fish,
if I'm
there's no
not taking the
bioload, which
sponge,
means they die.
if I don't take the sponge filter out, it's got so much stuff in there just growing on all the plants. There's
Hey,
probably
Garcia.
snails in both that might be pooping too. But for plants, or for the fish themselves, that that pond will survive without plants or fish in it.
I don't think that's true.
What does the crowd say?
Yeah, what, let
Where's
the
Skipper?
crowd
I've
Yes. Skipper left about 10 minutes ago. He's like, I'm out.
now one thing I do is I do keep fish in the quarantine tanks way too long. So they're normally
Me
not
too.
empty for. I normally keep them in there until I get enough new fish in. You know.
Well,
So,
there you
but
go.
I still think that
You
there's
got to
one in
feed the
there that's probably
beneficial
been
bacteria.
empty that
Like if you
hasn't had.
unplug your filter,
Uh huh. I don't have. I use the air filters.
have canisters. If you unplug the canister, that beneficial bacteria that's in there dies within days.
Well, yeah, but you're in a tight, confined area with no motion or anything. You're talking a fish tank with a sponge filter, living plants, and water that's being added
What's
to it.
what's feeding it?
What's
What's
been in there?
Yeah, but it's going to use that up pretty quick,
I don't think
right?
it does. I don't think it does.
People,
I mean, I don't
help
take
me
the
out here.
mole out. I think it's going to live for a very, very, very long time.
I don't think that's true. I think the bacteria load follows the bio load, but it never goes to zero. This is from Big Steve. There's living things in the water.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. I have been doing fish for 40 plus years, and I've never heard. Well, let's be real. I mean, for the last 15 years, I knew about the cycle. I My first 20 years, I didn't know shit about shit. I just kept fish. Well, let's throw those in there and see what happens.
I want to click on Jeremy's thing to put it on the bottom, but it's not my stream.
Yeah, right.
But
What Jeremy say?
okay, he said the oh gosh, I'm terrible with the words. Aerobic bacteria
Aerobic.
needs aerobic oh darn it, now it just moved. Big Steve, you just did this to me. Okay. No, keep typing, guys. I'm just being silly. Needs ammonia and oxygen source to live. You might have
without the
a minimum
ammonia,
amount. Yeah, but I still have enough of that stuff going on because I have plants growing. And
Where's
there's
the
poop in
ammonia
there
coming from?
from anything dying, anything that's breaking down. So,
But if you
like,
what's breaking down? Unless you're feeding an empty
leftover poop, leftover skin cells and stuff from the fish themselves, whatever comes off the snails, the plants are constantly shedding scales. You have all sorts of stuff shedding stuff.
If you have, I do know for sure that snails will keep your tanks. You have snails,
you can grow plants great without having to have fish in there.
Sorry.
Okay, you want to ask? We just had a major discussion while you were gone.
Yeah, well, you missed the whole thing.
My phone went crazy, and I thought I was going to have to leave. But
all right,
I don't. I'm
Skip
good.
Daddy. It's 1 against 1. You got to break the tie. Can beneficial bacteria survive in a tank with no fish?
Only if you're feeding it.
Yeah,
You have to feed it.
But now, if the tank may have, I definitely know it has snails and live plants and oxygen going to a sponge filter that's
Oxygen
in there.
is fine, but it doesn't grow your colony. The snails, that's what's helping you, because they are producing ammonia. I mean, they're just like fish. They're the same as fish. They're eating and pooping.
So hold on a minute. This is a tank of yours, Ed?
What we were discussing is like, how do you keep your hospital tank cycle? And and Ed was saying that, well, he doesn't drain it. He just leaves it filled up. And I'm like, yeah, but that if you leave it filled up but empty for however long, it's all the beneficial
back-
bacteria is going to die.
And it's also growing even algae.
But algae and plants don't help you.
But when
Actually,
they die,
they
Well,
are
how does-
consuming the
no.
nitrogen
How does algae and plants not help?
because it's competing against the it's absorbing the nitrogen and the nitrates and ammonia,
It-
right? Which is what the beneficial bacteria needs to live, right?
So, say for instance, his hospital tank that you're talking about has plants and algae in it and snails. It's going to keep the cycle. One, the snails are eating the algae, which is feeding the plants their poop.
Correct. Yes.
But if you
I
have
fully admit if you have a lot of snails in there, that will work. But the plants
I don't have
themselves
a
are
lot. Those tanks have the least amount, probably because I don't feed them as much. Like as the guppy tanks, I feed a lot, so I get a lot of snails in those tanks.
I don't
You
know.
know what I don't have a lot of snails
I'm not
in?
saying I'm right. That's what I was told. What?
But
I lost you.
Whip doesn't cycle his tanks in general.
No. Usually I just start off very, 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 very slow. Like I'll put one fish in a great big tank and let them kind of do their thing.
Okay.
But that's still cycling your tank. You're using fish
Yeah.
to cycle it.
Correct. Yeah. But that's how we got to where we were with Ed and I talking about, well, what do you do with a quarantine tank slash hospital tank that is empty most of the time?
Yeah, mine
How do
are
you
never
cycle?
empty.
Do you use media or do you just throw fish in? And I'm like, well,
I
I
use
just throw
my-
fish in.
I use my quarantine tanks also for grow out tanks too.
Oh, that's a whole different thing.
Well,
I have a 55 that's growing out a couple of fish right now.
But if I had a fish that I got and it turned out that it was all diseased and nasty, I'd get rid of everything in that tank. I'd sterilize it completely.
I do believe that a tank can lose its cycle
For sure.
because it has happened.
You have
It
to feed it.
happened.
You said it right. The first thing out of your mouth was you have to feed it. But I don't
think
know.
you
Like
actually
Ed
have
was
to
saying,
feed it.
it might be
It's like a biotope.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's a closed system.
I think they turn into biotopes. Bacteria is such an easy thing to grow.
this is what I'm going to say. If you get it started, you have plants and snails in it, and algae. You're going to have a cycle.
Yes, correct. But the snails are the key. If it's just plants, I don't believe that will hold because
But
they are
if you're-
consuming the nitrogen.
I got a
and
question. Are you fertilizing the plants that are in it?
Yes.
See, if
There's
you
your
are,
I
cycle.
also
yeah,
I'm
there's your
squirting
cycle.
my Easy Green every time I do a water change.
That's
There
what's
you go.
helping.
Okay.
The cycle.
Yeah.
Now, if you had just a sponge filter and water and nothing else in it, you're going to lose it.
Yeah.
And I squirt more into my two tanks than others because I don't have a dirted bottom on them.
So we're all on the
One's
same
a
page. You are
one's
feeding
a-
the tank.
You
One's
have
a
to.
glass.
Yeah. When you're
One's a
squirting
glass
that in.
bottom, one's a sand bottom that's very shallow sand, just for like critters that might need to hide in sand. But otherwise, I don't add fertilizer to the substrate in those tanks.
All right. Now that we've spent 20
I mean, I
minutes
do add
on your
fertilizer. I
second
don't
question,
add substrate.
did you have another question you wanted to go to before we?
Once asked Skipper, how do you cycle your tank? That was the question.
That was the
how
question.
do you like to? How do you
And
like
then
to
you
How
start
do
a
I
tank?
cycle a tank?
Yeah, like a new tank. If you were
Well, okay.
to come home with a new 29 gallon.
When I first started back in, was with fish, because I didn't know about certain things to help you cycle a tank. I didn't know a damn thing about a sponge filter. I didn't know none of it. But how do I cycle a tank now? I take a sponge filter from one of my tanks that I have up and running, and I put it in there. I squeeze it, get everything going in it, and I also use Quick Start from API to help keep the bacteria in there. It'll start feeding off all that stuff. I'll let it go for a few days, and then it's pretty much that. To me, that's an instant cycle. I have never myself, knock on wood, have not had no issues doing it that way. Because I've learned from people on here, and I tried it. I was like, man, okay, that's nice. But I've also done it with just API Quick Start. Like, say, whenever I've reset a tub outside or something, and I didn't have a sponge filter before, I've done it that way, and it works. But I won't put the fish in instantly. I will let that, because of being outside and you start adding beneficial bacteria, and it's just going to do its thing because of the natural environment. Because stuff's getting into the water. Okay, stuff's getting into the water in your house, but it's not like the outside stuff, right? But for me, it would be a cycled sponge filter from one of my tanks that's up and running. And I will replace that with a fresh sponge filter because I already have beneficial bacteria in that tank that's in the substrate and all that other good stuff. And it's going to keep going. It never reset on me doing it that way.
Nope.
But using
an established filter is the best way to do it. And now that I have my tanks established, I can do that. But when I first got these, each one of them, every one of these was started with a fish or two. And like I was telling Ed, I never had an issue with that. But I never threw 27 fish into a fish tank, thinking, oh, well, they'll just cycle it for me.
That ain't going to work. I'm sorry,
no,
that ain't going to work at all.
That would not work. That would not work even a little. But if you put one or two in a 90-gallon tank, and then you do your water changes, you do your normal, you're not going to have an issue. I've never had an issue. Right. I've been doing this for a long time. I've never had.
Yeah, but that's a bigger fish, though, too. You know what I mean? So
my 90 is a bunch of little guys, but the rest of them are big boys.
But I've also done it to where I took that sponge filter from a tank with a new sponge filter in a tank and just squeezed the hell out of it and moved that sponge filter back into the tank it came out of, and it was fine.
Oh, really? And that worked for you?
Because all that stuff that you're squeezing out of is a crap ton of beneficial bacteria.
I've heard that. I just never tried.
It's going into your sponge filter and also down into your substrate, too, because it's going to look like a mess. You're going to have a brown blanket on the bottom, for one.
Yeah.
And then when you go do your water change, you're going to suck that up. But a lot of that went straight into that fresh sponge filter.
Mm-hmm.
You could do it that way, too.
Yeah. Lisa from KG Tropicals, she has mentioned multiple times where she just squeezes the brown
Mm-hmm.
goop out of it, and that works for them. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that.
Oh, I've done that.
Have you?
See, there's so many different ways to cycle a tank. It's whatever's going to work for you or however you want to do it. You got to remember, back whenever I first got into this, whenever I was a teenager, I broke that cycle every time I cleaned that tank.
Yep.
Because
remember when we used to empty it out and wash it all down?
That's what I'm talking about. And hose the hell out of the substrate. And then you took it outside.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't a big tank. It was actually this size tank, a 29-gallon. That was my first tank. It may have been bigger because it was older. But you know what I mean? There's and this Alishon, grab a cup of, because if you don't like me, I don't gravel that. Okay, there's going to be a lot of stuff in that substrate that it would definitely work that way.
But it only so deep, right? I mean, we all know how that works, right? I mean, it has to
No.
have oxygen.
No.
You know, it has to have oxygen, right? And
I
if you
think
go too
bacteria will
deep,
grow
it
all the
doesn't
way to
get
the
the.
bottom.
It depends
If the
on the
mulch
type
is
of
down there.
substrate. So I would say yes with that with sand, but with gravel, no. Because yes, it packs in, but there's so many. Even though it's packed together, it still can get in there. You know what I mean? Because this
Nola,
tank, this 29 over here, I got brown from the top to the bottom.
Nola
what?
is thinking about taking down a couple of her tanks. She has 4 tanks. One's got her turtle. She says it's just too much work for her. She says she's got one for a turtle, one for her ACFs. Is that African cichlid fish? What's an ACF?
I don't know, but a cat house is killing me.
And then Nola said she has one for her guppies and then one just for plants. What ones do you guys think if she thinks it's too much work? I bet you the turtles are probably the hardest work.
Mm-mm.
Turtles
Turtles are
are
dirty.
Easy.
yeah,
Easy.
but they're
They're easy?
dirty.
It all depends on how much you feed them. They don't need fed every day.
Oh, they're her African crawling frogs. Did she say crawling?
Claude.
Claude.
Oh, clawed. It's like I'm so far away. If I put my reading glasses down, it doesn't work either. I can't even reach it.
Joshua Templeton.
We got to read that again. She said, I'm taking all my tanks down except a few. Just become much for me. 4. One for my turtle she's keeping. One for that frogs.
Oh,
one
she's
for the
keeping
guppy,
the 4.
and one with just plants.
Well, then I think that sounds like a good combination. I would have gotten rid of my cichlid tank too.
What's the next question?
Did you see what the cat house said? So Whip,
What did Cat House say?
he says, Whip told me that to add 27 fish in the tank and everything will be okay. Thanks for the information. No.
Cat House is on my side. Thank you, Cat. That guy's so awesome.
Hopefully we get to meet him at Clash. Are you going to be at the Clash there, Cat House?
I don't know, but he'll be at the Aquatic Expo next year if you go to that.
I'm not going to go to that.
In Charlotte. And
I did that on my 4,500 gallon and everything worked out okay. What did you do on your 4,500 gallon that worked out okay?
Probably just added 1 or 2 fish.
And he just drops, I have a 4,500 gallon, just like, well,
unless maybe we missed something. He said he peed in it to start his cycle.
Oh, so yeah, so it was the 27 fish in a 4,500 gallon. Yeah, you probably could do that. You probably could get away with that.
You can probably do anything to a 4,500 gallon.
Yeah, right. What's the next question, Ed?
Oh, next question is, I can only do this with one hand because Nico's on it. My other.
You know, you can move a cat. They are movable.
But it's against the law.
No, I don't think it is.
Oh. Well, okay, this one is how do you cycle a tank also, but it's just a little different. What are the ideal water perimeters for a Pacific fish?
Pass.
Yep, let's go on.
That's so.
How often do I do water change? Whoa, where did you guys go?
Uh-oh.
We're here.
I hear you guys.
Your cat did something. I'm blaming your cat.
Okay, you're back up.
One does not
It's-
simply move a sleeping cat.
You don't.
How
You got to muscle
often
it.
should I do water changes?
Okay, so I am going to answer that with it doesn't track. You cannot answer that question without, there's not one specific answer. For me, it's you set the threshold for your nitrates, right? Whether it's 20 or 40 or 60 or 100, whatever your threshold is, whatever you're comfortable with. When it hits that threshold, that's when you do your water change, right? And the size of your water change is determined by how fast they get to that threshold and how much work you want to do, right?
Uh-huh.
Like if you let's say it's 20 and you bring it back to 0 with the water change, and then you wait till it gets up to 20 again. It depends on the fish load and or the bio load, and it could be 2 weeks, could be a month, could be a couple days. On my 210, I have to do water changes, 75% water change every 3-4 days. On my 120 here with one little fest day, I can go a month. So
I think it all comes down to what you're trying to accomplish. So the reason why I say that is if you're breeding fish, you definitely want to do once a week because a lot of them love that fresh water that comes in. Now, also, it all depends on how much you're feeding your fish. How often are you feeding your fish? If you got a grow out tank, you're feeding that tank more than once a day. So you're definitely going to want to do more water changes, right? I could go once a month on my 55-gallon tank and not have no issues because I don't feed them every day. You know what I mean? If you're feeding your fish a lot once, twice a day for every day, you're going to want to do because that bio load's high. It's going to be high.
right.
One, there's going to be a lot of fish food that didn't get eaten because they didn't have time to go around and possibly look
Hey,
up
Johnny.
to take care of the scraps that's still there, or I think it just all depends on what you're doing with the tank. Every tank, I agree with Big Steve. Every tank's going to be different.
Yeah, that's basically what I said. I mean, what you're doing with what you like. I can't grow plants, so my plants aren't helping me like they would a regular person with regular water.
Plants like
Um,
water changes too.
they do,
Yeah.
but they need a higher concentration of nitrite and ammonia and nitrates, right? I mean, they like that stuff. You have to feed them.
If you're fertilizing your tanks, you want to do water changes. Depends on
Yes.
how much you're fertilizing.
Yeah. I mean, all that stuff factors in. Are you keeping one big Oscar in a 220-gallon tank? Or are you keeping 7,000 guppies in a 40? It just depends. There's too many variables for that to be an easy answer.
I agree with that.
Good job, Whip.
See, I know stuff.
You know stuff. How should I do water changes? Well, that's kind of like the exact same question. Buy a python. Watch a video
Well,
on YouTube.
well,
What are signs
well.
that my fish are sick?
Hold
Oh,
up. Let's
never
go
mind.
back to that. Let's
Now,
go back to that because there's many different ways to do water changes. There's many different ways that you could set it up to do it. So
Yeah.
one is a Python that's easy, but yet depends on where you live. So like for me, where I live, I pay for my water. That's stupid to use a Python for a water change because I'm paying for this water. If I had a well, it wouldn't be no issue. In a way, you're paying for it's electricity of the water pump, blah, 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 whatever. Get into whatever argument you want. But the ideal way that I would love to do is an automatic water changing system, but I don't do that. So the plans are in the future, but Petco kind of screwed me on this now. I got to figure another way around this because of the tank situation. But because I need more tanks. But anyways, the way I do it is I use a tube and a bucket. Now, the way I want to do it is I want to use a tube in a 55-gallon drum because I want to start using that water for fertilizing my garden and my house plants.
That's how I do mine.
Because I got into that now too. But there's so many different ways you do it. It's whatever's going to be easiest for you at actually doing the water change.
My Python is only exit only, or entry. It never takes water from the tanks through the hose, and it keeps your Python really crystal clear, and it keeps water that you don't want going from tank to tank happening. You know,
I'm kind of the same way, Ed. I have two Pythons. I'm kind of the same as you. I have two Pythons. One is for filling, and the other one is for empty. So, and sometimes I do both at the same time. So that, like, I'll take the water down to 50%, and then I'll start filling with the other Python, but I don't take the one that's emptying out.
Hi, Jeremy.
Hey, Jaden.
What?
So I figure I get like a 70% water change when I do it. If I take it down to 50 and then start filling, but it's still emptying, I know I'm getting some of the new water out, but most, I don't know. I'm just kind of averaging it out. So I figure about 70%.
I use one of those 9-foot hoses from, I don't know if it's Aqueon or Tetra or who it is, but they've got the big clear hose on the end, or plastic tube. Then it hits the hose and it has a pump and it pulls it through. And it's a pain when you get snails and too much substrate or moss. Oh my God, moss drives me crazy when I get it stuck in there. But that's how I drain my tanks, into the 55. Then I take the 55 out, and if I'm going to be doing more than 155 load, like 3 times, I'll just dump 2 of them in the grass and leave the other one out.
Define 55. What are we talking about? You're draining into a 55-gallon tank?
No, I got a 55-gallon dump trash barrel.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, like the brute.
Actually, it might be 47 gallons or something. I don't know what it is. I never fill it all the way up, so I don't slosh
when you said 55, I'm like, what? You have like a mobile 55 gallon? That's weird. Okay, I got you.
I actually bought out.
I bought the brute garbage can to do that with the stand that has the casters on it, so you can roll it around. Yep. Never used it. It's sitting right there. Oh. I can point right to it. I've never used it.
That's how I used to fill my tanks. I used to fill that with the water from the sink, and then I would push that into my fish room and let the fish room automatically heat it up, and leave it there for 3 days, and then I would fill the tanks with that. I would drain some into the old. Well, I had 2, one for dumping and one for collecting, and I was doing that because I never used chemicals, but now I'm lazy and I use a Python and I use Prime.
Yeah,
I didn't start using. I didn't start using Prime until like 4 years ago.
Talking one of these?
Yep, right there.
That damn thing still has the tags on it, dude.
I'm telling you, I've had this thing for a year and it's never been used.
Oh my God! Bring it to the trash.
Oh my God. That's where my back problems all started. At the Aquatic Expo, I was filling those and pushing them. And that's where it happened. I wish I would have just brought my own trash bucket.
No, I meant for him to bring it so I could bring it to my house.
How much?
My wife would probably like that. Get it out of her laundry room. It's just in the way.
No, don't get up there.
Next question.
Next question.
Nope. Hang on. I got to get the cat from.
Yeah,
Okay.
he definitely did, Foxy, didn't he?
What?
You made that garbage can look really
Yeah.
short.
Yeah, it happens.
What are signs that my fish are getting sick?
Clint
They tell you.
When they start floating upside down, they're
Yeah.
probably sick. When they start having white spots, they're probably sick. When they start having white foamy stuff growing around different parts of their body, they're probably sick. If their eyes are getting cloudy, if their color isn't bright, if they aren't eating, if they're laying at the bottom of the tank, if they're laying gasping for air at the top of the tank.
Gas.
Trying
Clamp
to think of
fins.
another sign of a sick fish.
Clamp fins is always
Oh.
a sign for me. When they bring
Swelling.
when they bring their fins in real tight and they don't
Whoa, whoa,
use them
whoa.
anymore.
Pine
The
cones.
hell you wasn't.
Terrible.
I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, bullshit,
Gambling
man. I don't care if it's your birthday or not. You were invited.
You were invited. Nice try. It's
Yeah.
it's in our group text.
I'm flipping you right off.
You can click the link and come on up.
Yeah, you can come in right now if you want to.
He didn't throw your invite until 10:20 because he forgot to give us the link.
Don't
That's
make
how
me
he-
call Renee. Don't make me call Renee.
He knows where you live. Oh, maybe you don't.
Not now.
You moved.
There's pine coning. That's a bad thing. Oh, if your fish has got a bladder problem and it's starting to swim upside down or can't right itself. Swim bladder problems. There are so many things.
Yeah. Well, so
A loaded
if
question.
they're flashing, right? Did you say flashing when they're rubbing on the rocks and the substrate and whatnot?
Well, no, I didn't say that. Yeah, good one. How about if they're eggy, they can't get their eggs out and they swell way up? Hate that. That makes me sad. So many things, man. Fin rot. Their fins are coming slowly eating off. You know, there's a lot of sicknesses out there.
their eyes
There
are
was a lot
popping
more in
out
the
of their
80s than there are now.
head. Their eyes are popping out of their head.
Oh, yeah. Popeye.
Yeah,
Whoops.
popping. I don't like
Come
it.
on, Doc. Click the link, Doc.
You got to be more. When they ask that question, they got to be more specific.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're just asking Google.
Yeah.
These are Google questions, right? The most
Yeah.
asked questions to Google.
What should I do if my fish is fin nipping or over aggressive?
Take it back to the fish store.
Get another tank.
I say line of sight or put more fish in to disperse aggression.
Does
might
that really
have to.
work? Has anybody?
Oh,
has
yeah.
it ever really worked for anybody?
Yeah.
I've totally seen it.
Line of sight. Yeah. I've seen that.
You
Matter of
guys
fact-
keep a bunch of. Send it to Whip. You guys keep a bunch of tetras and stuff though. So you try that with a cichlid. That doesn't work for a crap.
The hell it doesn't. I got 7
Dispersing
stars.
aggression.
Oh, it doesn't work.
No.
They just
Huh?
chase each other until they die.
I'm
No,
calling
if-
bullshit. Listen.
No,
tell you
that's not true.
No, it is true because I got a tank full. I got a 75-gallon tank with 7-star sapphire cichlids in it and 2 OB peacock cichlids in it.
You looked up and to the right. That means you're lying.
I had to think of the. Listen, we will see each other again, but no, that does work because I put a big ass piece of driftwood in the middle of that tank, and I'm telling you, it works. I believe in it.
I've never been able to get it to work. I've tried the timeout thing where you pull them out, you put them in a different tank for a while, try to reset the thing, put them back in, they just turn into an asshole again.
Yeah, or if the fish ain't compatible, you might as well just get another tank and set it up for it.
Exactly.
Because
Right.
it ain't,
I've had
Here's one that's happening right now, or occasionally it happens in my dad's tank. He's got rainbow, or not rainbow. What are they? Glowfish. Because I gave the tank to my dad. It's a Jen Williams scaped tank. It's beautiful, but my mom, she gets to pick the fish that go in it. And she picked white skirt tetras. And they are fin nippers. And when there was only 5 of them in there, they were constantly pounding on each other. Now we have about 12 in there, and there's so much action going on, nobody ever becomes the boss. Actually, the biggest one hides underneath the wood. The one that used to be the most aggressive hides under, like there's a branch like this, and she has just taken over that area. And the rest of the fish all just swim around. So I think if you get enough fish, you'll disperse aggression because they don't know where it's coming from, and people start to chill out. Also, maybe take the females out because the boys might be fighting over the girls. There's a lot of things you can do.
Overstocking is a good way to do it. But I mean, even he's not here, but Ben Ochart, if you watch him at all, he's quick. He's got a quick trigger, so I mean, he doesn't mess around. If there's a lot of chasing, he just rehomes the fish. But he has tried everything. He doesn't have a lot of line of sight breaks, so his tanks are pretty much open with a couple plants that he has in there on either side. But he's tried all that stuff, and cichlids are just once they flip the switch, they're I had 2 red tears, and the one dominant wouldn't even let this fish come out from underneath the rock. The one that he was picking on all the time was laying sideways underneath a rock, and that's where he lived. And actually, I gave Ben the aggressive one, which in hindsight was wrong because he ended up having to rehome it too, because he tried it in multiple different tanks and it just didn't work out.
That was a dick move,
right? But it was the pretty one, so I'm like, well, maybe he's like, maybe he can get it to work.
Dick move.
Because the one I had a busted up mouth.
Well, take it upstairs.
We lost him.
I'm separating them. I gave the one.
Oh, there he is.
I lost it. Yep, there I am. Okay. My internet just sucks.
Well, I'm looking
or
forward
does, one of the two.
To my 125 tank when I get it done, putting the 2 ornate Bichers in there and the red devil. Because I think the red devil might be able to hang out on its own or be able to hold its own against those guys. And then I could have another fish with them.
I don't think that they're going to mess with that fish.
Now, the red terror or the red devil bit my old Bicher, and it was half the size, and he ripped his fin off on one side. It grew back, but for a while he was missing a huge hunk of his fin. So, and that was a nice Bicher. These guys are kind of aggressive Bichers, but I think they're just going to leave him alone because he's so big.
Hey,
and
look at that!
Oh my gosh, there he is! Look at Ben.
That's a black bug against you, my friend. Also, a line of sight works. You've had trouble with that, though, right, Ben? I mean, you had to rehome Skittles, and
that's so great. Somebody
I didn't think I was speaking out of turn.
That is so great. I'm
bug.
sorry. That was like open mouth, insert foot.
No, open mouth, insert foot is telling people that they need to be beaten if they shave their cat, and that turns out it was Ed's cat.
Well, honestly, I feel like somebody messaged him, so you better get up there and he's talking shit.
Right. Somebody outed me.
Joshua, it depends on what Bicher it is. The ornates are very aggressive. At least my ornates. All my other Bisher have been really chill, but the ornates, I can't keep anything with them because they try to eat everybody. But I've never put them in with like a huge other fish. But they've ate all the small stuff. Like I even put in giant autosynclists in there. They're about 4 or 5 inches long, and I saw my Bisher just chomping on something. I'm like, what is he eating? And I got in. He was just biting the autosynclist, and the autosynclist was just pretending like he was a log. And I got him out, and he died from being bit so many times. But they pretty much, the ornates, I think, eat everything, or maybe it's just their personalities. Every seems like every Bisher has a different personality too.
Well, ornates
Like-
are known to be a little bit more aggressive than the rest of them too. They
Well,
do
they're-
have that reputation.
They're smaller than the others, also, and they have the opposite type of jaw. There's an upper jaw and a lower jaw, something like that. I don't know. I was going to read up on it, and then I never did.
I don't know that they're so much smaller either. I mean, did you see what John has from KG Tropicals? The one that Eric Furlow gave him? That thing grew as big as the two he had already, and it's already bigger than those.
No,
Well, the other ones like get as big as like logs,
Yeah.
and ornates stay more like almost like a snake size. They don't
I
get
don't know.
wide.
I just know what John told me, or told the chat, that the one that Furlow gave him was smaller than the two he had, and now it's the biggest one in the tank.
Good night, Ben.
See you later,
Right,
Ben.
Ben.
Sorry,
Thanks for
if
coming
I
on.
misrepresented, I apologize.
Hey, hopefully I'll see you at that swap in Nashville in 2 months. That'd be pretty neat. But yeah, my ornates are about 18 inches long, but they weren't nearly as thick as my old one. My old one was a Deltese, and it was much thicker, but not as long. And she was just a sweetheart. I kept her with a lot of other fish. And then Sean Peck has a Cynodol in his rainbow tank that's super big and nice to everybody.
Now, Senegal are the smallest of the bunch, right?
They're the silver ones. I think they get to about the same size as ornates. They might get bigger than an ornate. I don't know.
I don't think so. Senegals are supposed to only get like a foot. No?
I think they all get over 18 inches or get to close to 20 inches at least.
No kidding. I don't know anything really about bite jar. I have two of them that I'm giving to Lori Monster Fish Scale. But I didn't know they got that big. I thought the Senegals were the small ones out of the group, like 12 inches, and everything else was much bigger. Hey, there's Rack.
I can't answer
Oh my
that.
gosh, I was thinking about Rack just today. What was I
Rack?
going to ask Rack?
What's up, Rack?
I told myself I need to ask Rack something next time I see him on live, and now I can't remember what it was. I don't remember.
I hate when
I'll try to remember, Rack. Okay, you ready for another question?
Yeah.
Sure.
How do I choose the right fish for my fish tank? That's a loaded question, too. That's a tough one to ask a whole bunch of experienced fish keepers.
See, for me, I hate that question. I freaking hate that question because, I mean, I know there's outside circumstances, but you should do your
Right.
research on the fish you want and then buy the appropriate fish tank. You don't
Okay, here,
buy the
I'll
fish tank
help
and
you.
then try to figure out what fish go in it.
I'm going to help you guys. Pretend like hi, I'm Bobby Ray, and I just got myself a fish tank that looks like a stop sign, and it's about this tall and about this wide. What should I put in there? It's a hex.
We got
I know you're talking about. I've actually,
I don't know.
35-pound hex.
I've actually done this at Petco once, where somebody was asking the fish the whatever you call it person that works there, and they started telling them stuff. Then when they walked away, I said, "Hey, listen, what type of fish do you want?" I said, "What type of fish do you want to keep?" Well, I like the like it was they said guppies. I said, "Well, besides guppies, what else here in these fish do you see?" And they're like, "Well, what was it? I like these Cory cats." I said, "Well, the Cory cats and the guppies are going to go well together." My next question was, "How many do you want of each?" They would say a number. I said, "Well, that's going to depend on how big of a tank that you want." So, what is the biggest tank that you want to keep in your house? A 20-gallon. I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, depending on the type of catfish that you're going to get, Cory Doris you're going to get, is going to depend on if they'll be in there. They'll be fine in there or not." I helped this one lady out because she had her kid in there, and I didn't like how she was getting treated by the Petco employee, and I ended up jumping in. And the Petco employee looked at me. I'm like, "What?" And I literally helped that lady build a tank. But you got it all. It's what it comes down to is what do you want? What is your interest?
Yes.
Oh well, I
100%.
want.
You got to know what fish you want before you buy the freaking fish.
Yeah. Because she could have went to the cichlid side like, "Oh man, look at this albino fish here. Oh, you're talking about that one there that's in the top left tank?" She goes, "Yes, that's an Oscar. You want a 75-gallon tank at least for one of them." They'll just look at you. Yeah, don't forget to call him Pleco, right? Yeah, you better get a big ass tank for that. But I think it's you always ask what their interest is. Like
Right.
what would you like to keep? And then you help them out from there, or even if you're asking the question, it is what do you want to keep, and learn that fish before you go out and get them, before you end up killing like a crap ton of them.
For sure.
Yep.
Well,
I agree with that
last time
100%. You just
I was at PetSmart, and they were trying to sell this guy a common pleco to clean the algae out of his 3-gallon
oh my
tank.
God. See, that's the problem with pet stores is they just hire these people looking to put gas in their car. Basically, they have no idea what they're talking about.
Well,
There's no training. I mean, unless you come in with already some knowledge. I worked at a pet store. I
well-
know for sure there's no training going on.
well, yeah, no.
I
I
went
did.
in-
I did notice something though, as the times that I've been going in there, they're asking questions now of what size tank do you have? How many? What's already in it? This, that, and the third. And they were asking me. I said, "Ma'am, I got 18 tanks," and they stopped asking. But
Yeah,
they asked that question now. I think they have to. I think that maybe.
Oh, I think they're trying to hire good employees. It's just hard to get.
That's true.
I mean, I've been
That is-
asked to work at a couple of pet stores over the last couple of years. So, yep.
And then you got, yeah,
But
that's going to happen. Too,
yeah,
unfortunately.
I stepped in and interrupted, and I had my Chattanooga Ed t-shirt on. So I said, I've got a YouTube channel. I know what I'm talking about. I really didn't say that, but I thought about saying it just because I thought it'd be funny.
Yeah.
But I helped him out. He ended up with like a mystery snail. So
Yeah, well, that's the hard part is because people want to know. Well, I got this. I picked up this 5-gallon at the garage sale. What can I put in it? And I'm like, I don't snail. I don't know. What are you gonna put in
this
there?
guy he was just growing lilies. He had a 3-gallon tank for just growing water lilies. And I was like, you can get a betta, just change the water and use a snail. But otherwise, And then afterwards, I thought, darn it, I wish I would have told him I'd give him some Endlers, because I could have given him like 4 boy Endlers and 1 girl or something, and then, just have a couple of Endlers in there.
I don't know how to take this comment because of what's been going on in the world today. Introduce them to a website that does not actually have a bunch of truth in it.
Yeah, right.
Oh, my.
Or anybody
That's
with
funny.
any kind of time invested to change you. Joshua says he ran a 10,000 square foot pet store and trained his Petco employees. Well, you are 1 in 1,000, sir, because most of those people, they say, "Can I have a job?" And they say yes, and they say, "Go man that station over there."
St. Louis
Well,
has one super good PetSmart that has good fish people in it. Well, they hired Gina at another one. So there are some really good people at some of the stores.
Yeah, but they're coming in with knowledge. They're not
Yeah.
training those people. Yeah.
well, I mean, they pay shit, so you're not going to keep them. You know what I mean?
That's the bummer.
And they don't want to pay. They don't want the knowledgeable people because they know that they're going to get. Well, they already know what they're talking about, but they're going to start asking for more money, and they'll be like, "Well, you don't know shit." Well, yeah, that person does, but you know what I mean. Like, I agree. I mean, it is what it is. Next question, please.
Okay.
Because you can go on forever with that one. Like,
oh yeah. Well, it's another. What signs that my fish are sick? Let's skip that one. Did we talk about aggression?
Kind of, a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah, we did.
What is the best food for my fish?
There you go. The food that they'll eat.
Okay, I tell people, don't buy Walmart fish food. If you look at it, it has like sawdust in the ingredients. Sometimes.
Oh, you talking about that aqua? Damn it!
I don't even know if it has a brand name. It's like it says fish flakes or something, or goldfish flakes on it. And people buy it, and it's like partially wood. Now, I mean, I know that this omega-1 might say ash in it. I don't know.
Well,
but
first
I don't want something that says sawdust.
I think. Well, first off, you got to ask them what fish do they have.
Yeah.
What are you keeping? Because you know,
that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Find out if they're plant eaters or protein eaters. That's probably a real good one.
Now, if it's a beginner person, and they're just starting out trying to see if they can keep fish alive, I'm gonna hand them a thing of Tetra Color granules, because that's actually a pretty decent food. But
yeah, it is.
As they advance on, I mean, there's so many.
Well, you've got
many good foods out there.
You've got this huge ball of average, quasi verging on bad fish foods like Tetra and all that stuff that like Walmart and PetSmart and Petco, they all sell that stuff. And then you got the next level, which is like a Hikari and not Northfin, but
Sarah.
Sarah and Northfin and like Extreme, those are pretty good, because if you look at the ingredients, they have like actual fish food stuff, the first 2 or 3 or 4. That's where you want to look at. What is it's new ocean something. Omega-1, that I don't know if I'd put that in the upper echelon, but it's definitely better than like Tetra. What do I have? I have something called Formula 1 and Formula 2.
We ain't talking about your high octane for your. Oh damn! That ain't cool. Oh, there you are. Yeah, fish
all
food.
your co-op stuff is real fish right off the bat. This Sarah for my goldfish, the first thing says wheat gluten, then fish oil, which is 96% omega fatty acids. But it's for goldfish, not the other fish. You know,
Ocean Nutrition, that's another one that's I mean, it's got some good stuff. Dried fish protein digest, salmon, fish meal. So the first three are at least fish related, and then it goes into like wheat gluten and stuff like that. Sarah,
Yeah.
like this particular Sarah right here is too
this one
small
says
for me to
yeast.
read.
This one says yeast first, then fish oil.
That's Sarah? Geez, I was
Yeah.
under the impression.
Oh no,
Sarah
wait.
was
That's what it. Well, that's some of it, but wait. Here it says ingredients. Here it says fish meal, cornstarch, wheat, flour, wheat gluten. So yeah, they have like real stuff also. Oh,
Oh,
look,
I
it's a
gotta.
continuation. That was a continuation. So this right here, then it comes up to here, and that's why yeast isn't the number one thing. I'd be like, yeast?
Yeah,
But
right.
no, it went from wheat gluten to yeast. Yeast. There's some Northfin here somewhere.
Northfin is the food of choice for me, and Extreme. Those are my two top.
I love Extreme, but it's too expensive for me to do. They won't sell it in 5-pound bags, and so it's
No,
like, well,
and that's why I end up with some Hikari too, because you can buy 2 pounds of Hikari on Amazon, and I wish I could buy a bigger
Okay, that's
bucket
not
of it.
what I was thinking of. I answered my own question.
What'd you answer?
I know
What you said?
He was saying about getting aquatic provisions, and it's a wholesaler of fish food. And I was trying to think of that's not. There was one that I saw on Amazon, and I just can't. I'm getting too tired. My brain's starting to.
Joshua, I haven't. I have not done it yet. One of my biggest faults is that I don't act on anything right away. I don't know why. I just sit on things forever. But that is still going to be the plan. I did get some
we ought
Northfin.
to see if Jeremy.
I did get this, which is specifically made for it. But I don't know what's actually in it.
We ought to ask Jeremy to come up sometime and see if he wants to join us. And then
I've been wanting to bring Jeremy up, but I've been busy.
Which Jeremy?
J and N. Are you talking about? He keeps freezing.
Aquarium Domain.
Aquarium Domain.
Yeah, Ed is frozen now. Usually it's me. He is really frozen.
Yep, I was frozen. I could hear you guys fine, but couldn't see anything. I could just hear you guys. But yeah, Jeremy from JNN. But of course, I mean Jeremy from Aquarium Domain, he's super cool too. So maybe we could do like a special J Day. Jeremy Day.
Good.
We'll ask him questions and only one Jeremy gets to survive.
I do
Who will
need
be
to
the
go
master
to bed.
Jeremy.
All right. Well, I mean, if you got to go, you got to go.
I'm starting to fade. Sorry, guys.
It's all right.
Okay, buddy. Thank you for
Oh,
doing it.
I got to answer this. They're doing really well, Jesse. Thank you.
So many Jessies and Jeremys and Joshuas.
And Jacobs.
Well, but only one. But only one Cheryl.
I want to look into this. Freeze dried bloodworms. Huh.
I feed a lot of frozen food too. Oh my gosh, and there's only one X do.
Yeah, that's for sure.
All right, buddy. Y'all have a good night. I want to thank mods that were in the chat. The gifted memberships. Thank you very much. I want to thank everybody for being here. Trying to get back into the group, but it's been hard the past couple Sundays. Last Sunday, there was no way, not when I worked from 10 p.m. Saturday to 2 p.m. in the afternoon the next day. I was wiped out. But yet again, thank you, everybody. I want to thank Ed for being here and Whip. Doc, you had your chance. You should have been here. But y'all have a good night now. Ed, you got anything you want to say?
No, tomorrow I'm going to go see that new Jason Statham movie. I think it's called The Working Man.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to that because I like seeing him beat up people.
He's almost 60 and he's still beating people up.
Oh, the Beehive, he made the Beekeeper last year, and it was a really underrated movie. It was a lot of fun. And I really hate telemarketers, and all he does is kill telemarketers in the movie. So cool.
Hey, just one more. I got another.
All right. Y'all have a good night now. You hear?
Later.
Bye.
Goodbye.